It's our turn, episode number 99, Meeple Kingdoms. In this episode, I welcome Heather O'Neill, the designer of Meeple Party, to the co-host seat, and we talk about the games we've played recently, including Azul, Kingdom Builder, Patchwork Express, and Terraforming Mars Colonies. And I interviewed Steven Aramini about his new game, Animal Kingdoms.
This is the Dice Tower Network, adding games to your wish list since 2005.
Hosting for this episode is generously provided by our fantastic supporters on Patreon.com. If you'd like to help us out by pledging $1 per month or more, please visit patreon.com/OurTurnPodcast. Every dollar helps us to keep this show going strong. Hi, and welcome back to Our Turn. I'm Cathy Ford.
And I'm Heather O'Neill.
Hi, Heather. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
For those who may not remember, Heather is part of Ninth Level Games, and today she's here in the co-host seat. So I'm excited to have you back.
Yes, this is exciting.
So we're going to start the show like we normally do by talking about what we've been playing lately. So what have you been up to, Heather?
Well, around the holidays, we actually play a lot of games with the family. So I ended up bringing out a couple of games I got for Christmas, one of which was Azul. And I've played it before, but I've probably played it about 4 times in the last 4 weeks. So I've really gotten a good handle on it.
Oh, and, nice.
Yeah, it's the original version, not the new stained glass version, but it's just such a solid game, and there's a lot of replayability. So we just have been having a lot of fun with it.
I know that's one that I would like to explore a little more this year, and for sure. I've only played it. I think my husband and I played it through a couple of times, just to kind of get a feel of it, so I could review it on the show. But it is a nice game, and I would really like to explore it some more. What did you think of it?
Yeah, the very first time I ever played it was at Origins this summer, and I got a quick thrown in. They're telling me the rules as I play, and I did pretty well. But then, as I played it 1 or 2 more times throughout the year, and now 4 times in the last few weeks, I really see that there's multiple strategies. It's not just, oh, you got a lucky draw, and you were going first. And there's actually a lot of different ways you can win, and yet the gameplay is so simple. Mm-hmm. So I really like that. You know, it's fun. You're just focusing on, what you're going to be able to do, as opposed to thinking too many steps ahead. You have to think a little bit ahead, but not too crazy, which is nice. And it's still good for 2 players, as you probably know, but also for 4. So I've played it a lot of times with 4 people recently. So that's been a different challenge, to try to almost race for the end, because someone's ahead and they're going to close it out, and you might not get your score that you want. So that one I really like. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that one I really, really like, and I would suggest to almost any game group. It's a good couples game for 2 people, and I'm sure it'll even be cheaper now that they have a new version out. So if that was anybody's, reason for not buying it, I think it's super solid and worth the money.
Would you say it's a good gateway game?
Actually, yes, because even though it's actually somewhat complex in scoring, that is something that someone can help you with. Really, the gameplay is pretty simple. So I think so. Okay,
great. And what rating would you give it?
I'd probably say 4 out of 5. Maybe not like I wasn't knocking down the doors. I have to find out about this game when it came out. But once I played it, it's really solid. It's fun. It's good pieces. High quality game.
Yeah. I thought the component quality was really very good.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Fantastic. Well, this last weekend, I got to try out Terraforming Mars with the Colonies expansion. Have you played with that yet?
No, just the base game.
Oh, okay. I have been a big fan of all of the expansions that have come out for Terraforming Mars. There was Hellas and Elysium, Venus Next, Prelude. All of those were excellent uh, uh, expansions. Every time one of them gets added, we don't play without it.
Nice.
Colonies, I am a little hesitant to lump it together. I think I need to explore it a little bit further. So in Colonies, you get these little cardboard boards that go around the board, and they represent colonies on different moons throughout the solar system. So, like, I think there was one for Titan and Ganymede and several other moons throughout the solar system. And there are cards in the main deck that you can get that allow you to, or you can pay as well, to fly a ship to the colony and pick up, either colonize there or pick up the resources that the colony produces and bring them back.
Neat.
I didn't get to do that enough in the game that I was playing. We were playing a 5-player game of Terraforming Mars with this for the first time. And, I don't know if I just couldn't get my engine going enough or if I didn't get enough colony cards. I went out to an early lead in the game, and everybody's like, oh, Cathy's the target. Cathy's the target. And I ended up coming in second to last, I think.
Okay.
And it seemed like everybody else was making use of the colony boards, but I just didn't get there enough. I think I only got there twice throughout the whole game. So I think I need to explore it some more. As an expansion, it seems well thought out. I would rate it a 4. I'm just not sure yet if that we need to have this in every single game person yet.
Right, yeah, definitely. And that thing about all these games that have many expansions, like Race for the Galaxy or that, I feel like sometimes you want to throw them all in there, and other times, like, you know what, I better play just one at a time, or these two work better together. So you kind of have to feel these out and trial and error. I
Definitely. I know we have all of the expansions for Battlestar Galactica, and there are some that we would, and it's funny, we play with all of the expansions. I should say we play with all of the expansions every time, but we don't play with all of the parts of each expansion every time, because there's some that we've played with them and we went, oh, this is not good. And then there are others where, like, no, we will never play this without this expansion part in it. Right. But each of the expansions that came out for that game were big box expansions. So there were parts that you could utilize and not utilize all of them and not miss out. So right now I'm kind of, for Terraforming Mars, I'm kind of leaning that way with Colonies. It's okay. I don't know that it's going to be necessary for every game, but I think I need to use it a few more times. I'm definitely going to get it for my own game, for my own copy of the game. But I'm still a little unsure about that one. So that is Terraforming Mars Colonies, and I give it a 4, but I need to explore it some more.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. What else have you played lately?
The other thing that I was introduced to this fall, and I didn't get a chance to play until I picked it up when I was Christmas shopping for other people on Amazon, and I found it for myself, Patchwork Express. So I don't know if you've played Patchwork or any of the other very...
No, I actually haven't had a chance to play Patchwork yet, and I hadn't even heard about Patchwork Express.
Two-player, the base idea of them all is it's a 2-player tile grid, game where you fill in the grid. And the pieces kind of look like Tetris pieces. Right? And they're all different patterns of quilt material is the idea. But it's not just that simple. There's other things to it. But in Express, the thing I like is I haven't played the main game in so long. It was fine. It was fun. But this one, the whole game takes 10 minutes. And the turns are so quick and things are moving so much that you kind of have to pick a strategy and go for it. And sometimes you pick a strategy and that strategy is just not going to work. And other times it works well and you're neck and neck. Other times the one person runs away with it. So it's interesting. Everything's so tight that you kind of have to decide, okay, this is how I'm doing it. This is what I'm doing. There's not time to build up and say, well, that didn't work. I got to go this way. So I've played it somewhere in the range of 5 to 6 times in the last few months, and only one time that I completely bombed on strategy. But it was because I won a bunch of times in a row. And I thought, okay, let me try something completely different. It may not work, and it did not work. But it was one of those things where you have the options to do these things. But because it's 2-player, depending on who you're playing with, they kind of know your tendencies. They kind of have an idea of how you're going to play. So there's a little like cat and mouse with chess element to it, which I like. But it's nothing too heady or crazy. You're just picking pieces and placing them on a grid and trying to pick up. You're trying to go around the score track and pick up the extra bonus points and things like that. And every time you hit these different milestones on the track, there's a scoring. Like it stops the game to score.
Oh, okay.
And that's really it. So you might want to be the first one to get there. You might want to let them do that, and then you get to pick up a bonus or something like that. So it's really interesting. There's a lot going on for a 10-minute game. So that one, if you're into 2-player games, especially if you like abstract spatial relations, you need that, because if that's not your forte, this probably wouldn't be great for you. But otherwise, if you like those type of games, then I think this would be a really, really good one to try out.
Now, and again, same question. Do you think this would be a good gateway game?
I don't know that it might be, but I think maybe the main Patchwork probably would be more of a gateway game, and this might be a little bit more advanced. I'm sure it's still light enough that people could get into it, but it's definitely a little bit more cutthroat than the main Patchwork, I would say.
Okay. I've been looking at Patchwork for a while for to learn to play it to teach my mom, because my mom enjoys doing quilting. And I think this is a theme she would enjoy. But for some reason, it just hasn't come across my table for me to try it.
Same for me too for a while. It was out for years before I even tried it. But yeah, I would suggest that. And then if she is into that, then there's something like this. Just adds a little bit more, and it's a little bit quicker. Not that much quicker, because the Patchwork game's not even that long. But, it kind of just, for a change.
Okay.
I know with my mother-in-law is more of a gamer. My mom and dad aren't really gamers, but my mother-in-law will try anything once. So I always try to just figure out what a good gateway game is for her. And I feel like she could handle Patchwork Express, but at the same time, I don't know that in general it's a gateway game, So
okay, cool.
That's my gauge.
All right, so Patchwork Express, and you give it a 4?
I give it a 4. I would say 5 because I personally really like abstract spatial relation games, so I really like it. But I think this is for the general audience, I'd say, and the solidness of the game, it's probably really a 4. It's just a 5 because I like those kind of games a lot. To me, I was on the fence.
All right. Yeah. I will keep my eye out for it. The last game that I'm going to talk about today is Kingdom Builder. My friend Richard Bright, hi Richard, is a huge fan of this game, and he had collected all of the first edition with all the expansions and everything. And then Queen Games put out a Kickstarter for the second edition with all the expansions included. And so he got that and gifted me his first edition game.
Nice.
And because he didn't want to have two copies of the game, which is great. But he came over to play the other day and he goes, "Here, let me teach you Kingdom Builder." Because he gave it to us, but it's still sitting on our game space of temporal insufficiency, which is our unplayed game shelf for those that don't know. And so we played it, and I think this is going to be a good gateway game to teach people area control.
Wow.
And I mean, I know there's Risk, which is a great mass market game that a lot of people know, but this is much more calm.
Okay, good.
There's no war involved. You're just spreading out. You draw these cards that have terrain on them, and each of the map boards, there's 4 boards involved, but the game comes with several map boards that have different terrains over them, and they're very pretty.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I think each expansion adds more boards to it. So you've got a variety of different boards available. And you put out 4 of them, and then you draw a card, and whatever terrain is on that card, you get to put 3 of your little houses on that terrain. Now, if there is a terrain that matches what you draw on the card next to your settlement, then you have to put your pieces on that terrain next to your settlement. However, if there's no terrain next to your settlement that matches what's on the card, then you can put it on that terrain anywhere on the board, and it allows you to kind of spread out and colonize a little bit, which was kind of handy because this game also comes with different goals. And one of the goals was to have your own little houses on the 4 points of the compass, basically.
Oh, okay.
And I was spreading out in such a way that I couldn't get away from my own colony. It was like every time I pulled a terrain, it's right there next to my existing colony. All right, here we go. But my friend Yuriko, hi Yuriko, she just seemed to spread out in clumps all over the board. And I mean, she went to town on this game and absolutely kicked our butts. But it was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I definitely want to play it again. I definitely give it a 4. Okay. It's already in my collection, thanks to Richard. And I'm definitely looking to play it again. And I had asked if it plays well 2-player, and he said it does. So I think it's something that Mark and I can play and explore a little bit. That's been one of the challenges that we've had until very recently is, okay, what plays well 2-player?
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely. And I feel like a lot of game companies are making sure that they have, decent games for 2 players. If it really won't play 2 players, they're starting to say 3+, or 3 to 6. And if it really does, they're keeping it 2 to 4 now. I'm seeing that more and more often, which is nice. Yeah.
And I've also noticed that a lot of games are coming out with solo editions as well.
Yes. Solo.
That's an interesting movement.
I'm on the solo board game Facebook group, and there's so many people that's what they do every single week. I'm used to gaming with the people, and I never really thought about it. But those type of games that appeal to those solo gamers, I really like too. So I'm kind of considering trying some of those. And that'll be my goal for this year, I guess.
I've tried playing some games solo, and I think the interaction is what I like about playing games. I've sat down and I've played Firefly solo, and I found that I had trouble keeping track of, what's a turn.
Yeah.
I'm done. Okay, next turn. But I'd forget to move the counter or whatever. Okay. I've also tried Terraforming Mars solo and lost badly, and discovered that I was forgetting to move the turn marker. I would just deal out some more cards and go. But I think that's probably just my own inexperience with being a solo player. I might try that a little bit more this year. I've got a number of board game challenges going, and and Mark just kind of rolls his eyes like, all right, I'll help you. But he kind of thinks I'm nuts for doing it. So I might try doing some solo stuff. So
yeah, there's been, like you said, there's just been an increase in it, and I've been paying more attention to it because there's been more out there. So, of course, I've got friends that are super into solo gaming, and they, play Gloomhaven by themselves. They play, a bunch of really heavy, long games by themselves. I don't think I'm ready for that. But some of these smaller ones, I'll gateway myself into them. Like, that seems better for me. So that's a good goal for this year, I think.
Yep.
But getting back to Kingdom Builder, I heard about that, and it does look really good, and it looks like it's a fairly simple gameplay, like you said, to kind of learn the area control.
Right, and
I haven't played it, but it looks good. Yeah.
There are little castles on the board, and you want to try and get your colony around the castles because those give extra points. Some of them give player powers, that make it possible for you to put out more than 3 houses at a time. I had a couple of those where I was able to put out like 6 houses at a time, which meant that I ran out of houses before everybody else and ended the game.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I definitely want to play that again. I don't know if it has a solo mode. I'll have to check. It looks like it says 2 to 4 on the box. Okay, cool. Anyway, that's Kingdom Builder, and that's what we've been playing. We have set up and been referring to and rating games by our own rating scale. Here's how we are using this scale. 5. Buy this now. 4. A good solid game. 3. Decent with some bugs. 2. Has great potential as kindling. And 1. Give me back the time I spent playing it. Today for the interview, I am talking with Steven Aramini, who is the designer of a new game from Galactic Raptor Games called Animal Kingdoms. Steven, welcome to our turn.
Hey, Cathy. Thank you for having me.
So briefly, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am a game designer. Have been designing games since about 2013, and my first one that came out was called Yardmaster, and that came out in 2014, and I've had a couple other games that have come out since, and just kind of trying to keep the design train rolling. So Animal Kingdoms is my newest one, and it kickstarts January 8th.
Nice. So tell me about your game.
So Animal Kingdoms is a game that combines area control or area influence with hand management. It has a deck of cards, and animal cards, of course, and there are 64 cards, 8 suits in values 1 through 8. So you're managing your hand of cards, and what you're trying to do is play them to one of 5 kingdoms. Each kingdom has a placement rule called a decree. So it might be you might be limited to certain animals playing there or certain ranks. Other rules might be affected by your neighboring kingdoms or by all kingdoms. So every rule is different, and those are going to come out randomly each game. So it's really about managing your hand and trying to place in those kingdoms, because each time you place, you get to also put one of your influence cubes. And at the end of the round, you will score based on how much influence you have in each of those kingdoms. So,
Now, when you say animal kingdoms, are you talking about like the scientific animal kingdoms, or are you talking about a kingdom like England and France have been kingdoms in the past?
Yeah, the latter. It's more you are taking over these territories. And before it was animals, I was actually just thinking more in terms of just standard, knights and medieval kind of theme, and I changed it to animals, but that whole idea of sort of going in and dominating the kingdoms stuck. So yeah, really more in those terms of you're going in and trying to take over countries almost.
I see. Okay. All right. So go ahead and continue.
So the game takes place over 3 rounds, and at the end of each round, each player has an opportunity to claim one capital city, which is each kingdom has a capital city, And this allows you to basically graduate one of your influence cubes into a council area. And this basically gives you permanent influence in that kingdom. So you're sort of playing your hand management to sort of try to dominate that particular age or round, but you're also trying to think ahead of what kingdoms can you gain long-term influence over the course of the long game, because with each round, the points escalate. So there's a little bit of short-term strategy and a little bit of long-term.
So how did you come up with your initial idea for the theme, and why use animals instead of knights and lords and ladies and things like that?
This game actually went through several theme changes. It was definitely a game built on the mechanics and not the theme. It was originally a deep sea fishing game, and you were going around to different seas and fishing, and that just felt kind of a little even more abstract. So I wanted something that was a little more literal to the area control, and so that's where I came up with the kingdoms. But with the knights and medieval and all that, it's obviously done a ton in the game industry. And
Sure.
So I was thinking about kingdoms, and actually just the name Animal Kingdoms just popped in my head. And then I started thinking about the cards, and I wanted the cards to be very colorful, sort of have a Coloretto feel to it. And so I just decided to go for the animals just because it was a little bit different than what you might typically see of an area control game.
Oh, okay. So the animal theme is to differentiate it, make it more unique.
Yeah, and I love animals, so I just picked animals that were my favorites. And ironically, only one of the animals that I chose is in the final game, because when Dan and Carla, when they signed the game, they started talking about their favorite animals. So my animal that stayed in the game was the owl, but you'll notice a lot of influence, a lot of fingerprints from Carla and Dan in terms of their favorite animals. For example, there's an okapi in there, which Carla's other company is called Weird Giraffe Games, which was sort of named after the okapi. So for them, I think it was fun to just kind of pick their sort of passion animals and have them come to life.
Nice. Now, your game is being kickstarted and published by Galactic Raptor Games. Tell us about your process of finding a publisher.
Yeah, so Animal Kingdoms, basically I put it together and I entered it in a contest called the Cardboard Edison Award. And
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so that was last year, and it ended up winning that contest. And so that's kind of got me on the radar for Carla and Dan. And I knew Dan actually from a previous game. We co-designed a game called Groves that came out through his company, which is called Letterman Games. So I already knew Dan and had a relationship. So he reached out to me about the game, and he told me that Carla and he were forming a new company called Galactic Raptor, and that they wanted Animal Kingdoms to be the first game in that lineup. And so for me,
that's special.
It was a great opportunity, not only to work with Dan again, but I knew Carla just through Twitter and through the gaming community, and I'd sort of seen some of her titles and her sort of coming up in the gaming world. So it was exciting to work with both of them, and it was also really cool because they were wanting to jump in right away, So it was just a perfect sort of perfect storm.
Now, you had mentioned that this isn't your first game designed to get published. What's it like trying to submit games to game publishers?
Yeah, it's just, it's a long process. I started it in 2014, and I still feel like in many ways I'm trying to get my foot in the door in a lot of different avenues. But honestly, the contests, I've entered a few contests, and that's gotten my foot in the door. So the Cardboard Edison is one example, and Button Shy is another company I've worked with. I have 2 games out through them called Circle the Wagons and Sprawlopolis. And Circle the Wagons came about because Button Shy had an 18-card wallet contest, and I entered that, and that ended up winning that contest and getting published for them. So contests have been really, I've had a good run with the contest. So that was one thing. The other thing is I don't attend them enough. I'd like to attend more, but conventions and like proto-spiel events and unpub events are really great for just making connections with fellow game designers and publishers. I have a game called Barker's Row, which was a carnival barker, kind of a crazy carnival barker theme. And that I met Overworld Games through a proto-spiel and got that signed that way. So yeah, I think for listeners who are maybe trying to get into the industry, I would definitely keep your eyes out for contests and for unpubs and proto-spiels and just going to conventions in general, because it's just a great way to immerse yourself in the gaming community.
Now, with the contests, even if you don't win, do you still get feedback from the publishers on your design? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think there's two great things that come out of contests. One is just that you always get good feedback, and it's from industry professionals. Like with the Cardboard Edison Award, it's a mix of publishers, experienced designers, reviewers, podcasters. There's just a wide mix of people that are all really into the gaming hobby. So you get a lot of different perspectives. But the other nice benefit of just entering a contest is it puts a deadline on a project. And,
that's true.
And it's easy to just procrastinate and put a project off. But when you have a deadline, you're like, okay, if I'm going to enter this, I got to get this game in shape. So it's a great way to just kind of move your project forward and just get it to the next stage.
Nice. Now, besides your games, what is your favorite game to play?
Oh, that's a tough one. I am a fan of pretty much. I really like all the Red Raven games, which is like Above and Below and Near and Far, and they're just really beautiful games, and they kind of have a storytelling element to a lot of them, and they just have a weight class that fits my sort of sweet spot in terms of they usually play in an hour or less. They're strategic and they have some depth to them, but they're not really heavy. So those kind of hit my sweet spot. So I'm a real big fan of those types of games. And then I also just like, kind of like your classic card games. Like I mentioned Coloretto earlier. I love games like Parade and Linko, and just some of those kind of simple classic card games I'm a big fan of. And
Sure.
You can kind of see that DNA in Animal Kingdoms, because that's really what the whole hand management, it almost has like a rummy type feel to it in terms of how you're trying to collect sets or make runs of colors and numbers.
Now, you said you came up with the mechanics for Animal Kingdoms first. Is that how you normally work? Do you normally come up with the mechanics first and then apply a theme, or do you ever come up with theme first?
It's totally different for every game. Each game has its own unique story, really. But I have done both. I would say usually I kind of start with a mechanic that I kind of am interested in exploring. And quite honestly, a lot of times I'll like mash two mechanics together and see what happens. So like with Animal Kingdoms, it's sort of like, well, what if I did like sort of this rummy style hand management with area control? Last year I had a game kickstart called Tricky Tides, and that one was a combination of trick taking with pick up and deliver. So I really like I like to look at like different mechanics and mash them together and just kind of see what happens. And sometimes it turns into something and sometimes it doesn't. Barker's Row, as I mentioned earlier, the carnival game, that one definitely started theme. It was like all theme all the way. I just wanted to make a crazy carnival game, and so I sort of built that whole game out to really kind of feed into that thematic ties, those ties.
Nice. Do you have any advice for new game designers?
Yeah, I would just say play lots of games, because every time I play a game, I get inspired by, the amazing ideas, and there's so many great games out there. And the more games you play, the more knowledge you have, and really the more inspired I get whenever I play games. And so definitely that. Like I mentioned, I think it's always good to get involved in the gaming community, whether it's through entering contests. When I was starting out, I went to the Game Crafter a lot, and they have contests on there as well as like a community and chat, and they have like 1 billion game parts and stuff. So that one's really fun to just go and explore. And if you have ideas, you can just kind of get the bits for it and stuff. And then I'm really active on Twitter, so I think it's really important to be part of the game community, whether it's going to conventions or through social media or through Board Game Geek. So it's I think just the more you immerse yourself, I think the more dialed in you'll be in terms of a pulse on the gaming community, and I think just gravitating to those positive experiences. And there's a lot of them out there. There's so many great people in the gaming community. So
there really are.
It's really awesome.
So now, when does your Kickstarter run?
January 8th, and I'm not sure of the final day, but I believe it's a 28-day campaign.
Okay. All right. So we will have links to that in our show notes, which is Our Turn Podcast /episode 99. And how can people find out more about your game and reach out to you on social media?
So you can find out about the game through Galactic Raptor, which is the publisher. Or you can just go to the Kickstarter and search for Animal Kingdoms. I am on Twitter at Steven Aramini, and that's where I'm most active. I'm also on BGG, also under just Steven Aramini.
And again, we'll have all that information in our show notes. Steven, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And good luck on your Kickstarter.
All right. Thanks a lot.
The Dice Tower Network is a proud supporter of the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund. The board gaming community is kind and generous, and this fund was created to provide financial assistance to members of the board gaming community in their time of need. To find out how you can help the fund continue to help others, please visit jackvassell.org/donate. Thank you for your support.
Okay, so now we're winding things down, getting towards the end of the episode and looking ahead to what is on our plates for the next week or two. Heather, what are you up to?
Well, ninth level's super busy, just getting a couple things finished up from last year. So the final art files are being done for Meeple Party, which is my board game that is coming out later on this year. So that's exciting.
Nice. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm getting ready for that. And it's going to be, not too many weeks till I see the digital proof. And then we just have to wait for manufacturing and shipping, and it'll be here. So I'm excited.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was happy to see we extended our stretch goals into late pledges and backer add-ons, so that if we missed it in Kickstarter, which we did, miss some of them, if we hit them later, we got them. So we were able to add a dog and a cat meeple, and I was very excited about that.
Oh, very cool.
So that was exciting. The other thing we have going on, and this is just in general thing people might be interested in, is that the whole month of February is Zine Quest on Kickstarter, and they are promoting a bunch of RPG zines to be on Kickstarter. So if you're into that, you should probably check it out. We're going to have one up there. We're going to have one up there, but I know there's a bunch of different RPG companies that will be doing short Kickstarters specifically of zines. So keep an eye out for that.
So these are like online digital magazine type things?
Yeah, or they're actually like the old school, like paper folded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like zines, like you would have had in like the early 90s, late 80s kind of vibe. And I guess some of the, the early RPG scene was like that too. So It's
nice.
these retro RPGs and kind of harkening back to the late 70s and early 80s styles. So,
very cool. All right.
yeah.
I've been talking about how a bunch of us got together and started a local nonprofit here in the Sacramento area to kind of go out and evangelize board gaming and try and bring in a little more diversity into the hobby. And so we got our nonprofit status in November.
Yay.
And yeah. And we are having our first event on January 26th. We're inviting people to meet with us at a local roundtable pizza and play games. Pizza's not free, but come in and play games with us, and we'll have a whole bunch of gateway games of all kinds and sizes, and ask people, okay, what kind of games do you normally like to play? Oh, you like this game? You might enjoy this game then. And, just kind of try and ease people into hobby board gaming and see if we can't get more women involved and more teenagers, get some young blood in there, and people of color and people from the LGBTQ community, and just kind of try and shake it up a little bit in our local area. So that is coming up on the 26th of January. And we're going to have more information about, we have more information about it available on yourturnevents.com. So I'm excited about that. And then Mark and I got a couple of Kickstarter fulfillments in the mail today that I'm excited about. We got some Zen bins, which are little card holders. I got this specifically for Battlestar Galactica because it's got a whole bunch of decks, of little mini decks. And they're always kind of falling over and mixing up with one another, and you need to keep them separate. So I got them specifically for that game. And then Bezier Games had a new game they were rolling out, and they did this incredible package that I couldn't pass up. The Kickstarter was for 1 week Ultimate Werewolf, which is a bigger box game than One Night Ultimate Werewolf. But they had a package where they included all of the one night games, all of the werewolf games, and some bonus packs and expansions and things like that. So, yeah, so those came today. And it also included a little stuffed wolf. And I took it out, and my dog Sadie perked up her ears like, oh, a new toy.
For me?
And I was like, no, I'm going to keep this for Mama. And I put it on the table. Next thing I know, I look over, Sadie's sitting on the dog bed, and she's got the wolf in her paws. And I'm like, oh no. She is not gentle with stuffed toys. And sure enough, she already chewed off the ears. And I was like, oh, so now it's sitting up on top of one of our game shelves where she can't reach it. She keeps eyeing it. I'm like, no, you better not learn to climb. So that's my sweet baby. Anyway, but yeah, I'm interested in getting into, because I haven't gotten to explore One Night Ultimate Vampire, One Night Ultimate Alien at all yet. And I think those are great gateway games as well.
100%. Yeah.
So I'm going to definitely take those to the Your Turn event and see if we can't get one of those going too. So lots of exciting things happening lately. Yeah. So how can
I was just going to say, it's January. Nothing's usually ever happening. So
that's true. And this year it's going to be different for sure.
Yep.
All right. So if people want to connect with you online, how can they get a hold of you?
On Twitter, it's at 9th with the number 9 PH Level Games. Also, the same thing for Instagram if you want to follow along with what we're doing and where we are, or just check out 9thlevel.com. 9thlevel.
Fantastic. And we'll have all of that in the show notes. If you want to get a hold of me, you can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Our Turn Podcast. And then Sarah Reed runs our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/OurTurnPodcast. And we have our guild on Board Game Geek, which is guild number 2600. And you can, of course, find all of those links in our show notes as well. Our show notes for this episode are going to be found at OurTurnPodcast.com/episode 99. Heather, thanks for joining me for this episode. This was fun.
This was fun. Thanks for having me.
And I hope you'll come back sometime.
Oh, yeah, totally.
All right. So until next time, and on behalf of the entire Our Turn podcast crew, that was our turn.
And now it's yours.
Thank you for listening. This episode was recorded on January 17th, 2019, and is written and produced by Cathy Ford and Heather O'Neill with assistance from Steven Aramini and Mark Ford. Next time, we will celebrate our 100th episode. We want and encourage your questions, comments, and feedback. Please call 916-426-2873 and leave us a short voicemail, or send an email to feedback@ourturnpodcast.com. Our theme music was composed by Adriana Crickle. Incidental music was provided by Purple Planet Music. Please check out our show notes to learn more about these talented artists. The material in this episode is copyrighted under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. If you want to learn more about the games discussed in this episode, please visit our website at OurTurnPodcast.com/episode 99. You can find a list of games along with links to their listing on BoardGameGeek.com. We are proud members of the Dice Tower Network. You can find out about other shows in the network like Ludology, The Dice Tower, or Flip Flory's Super Saturday board game serial by going to DicetowerNetwork.com. Thank you for your support. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us.